Hello and welcome to Spirit of Nature Art and episode 3 of this Stamperia Forest folio project. The point of doing this project was to use the exact same materials that I used making my very first journal just a year ago. So I'm using file folders and I am using Stamperia Forest 12 by 12 sheet, and this is where we got to last time. We'd done the whole right hand side of the folio, and we'd also started just to prepare the covers. So today we are taking a look at the left hand side of the inside, and I've brought in a second file folder here, exactly the same as the one that I used to make the base, and I'm just going to take off that funny little knobbly bit at the top there, so we've got a straight line to start with. And I am going to cut this down to exactly the same height as the rest of the folio. So just measuring that up just to make absolutely sure that it's the same size, because I'm going to use this to create some more kind of inserts on that left hand side. And as with the rest of this project so far, at this point I still don't really know what I'm doing. I've kind of had the idea that I wanted to put some extra pages in, so I'm just kind of fiddling around as I go. I'm going to take that little knobbly bit off there so that I've then got like another kind of file tab that could be another page. So I'm just kind of putting things in place and seeing how it kind of lands and just then experimenting. So at this point I've just kind of marked the width that I want this to be, and I am scoring. So I'm using the scoring tool on my cutter here. And I'm just moving it along just a little notch on there and scoring it a second time so that I'm making another spine. I'm making the spine smaller than the existing spine there so that that can sit within it like that. So I'm kind of thinking I'm going to have these multiple kind of pages. So that little spine there is just a touch smaller than the existing one, so that everything kind of stacks up when you put it in. And at this point I'm not sure if this is going to be a booklet. You can see me tapping my fingers, and I've decided actually it's not going to be a booklet. I'm going to trim that off so that I can attach it as a separate page. So I'm leaving kind of 1/2 inch-ish and then cutting that off. So we've got that spine, and then we've got this little flap here that we can stick down to the main body of the folio like that. And then I'm just kind of playing around with what I've got left over and seeing how that might all fit together. Again, I've got this other tab here, so I'm wondering whether I can kind of layer these up to create kind of 3 layered kind of pages. But there's lots of fiddling around when I'm doing a project like this. I haven't got a plan. I'm just playing around with the materials I've got and seeing what happens. So again, I'm just kind of marking that of the width. I'm just going to cut it and then just see what I do with it afterwards. Oh, actually I'm scoring it actually. And then again, moving that across. I'm not adding an extra spine on this because this one's going to just sit as the kind of page at the back, and then that one on top with a little spine, so that it all kind of layers up. So I've cut the same little tab on this one here, as you can see, so that I've got something to be able to attach it to the page behind, and just giving that a right good burnish so that those folds are nice and flat. And now I just fiddle around for ages. So I'm going to speed this bit up for you because I want you to know how much I fiddle around, because I don't just go in and kind of go, right, this is it, perfect. So when you see me doing my videos, know that there is an awful lot of playing around. So you can see here I've completely flipped that round now and thinking, oh, well, what if that flap opened from the other direction? And that's kind of what I end up with. And of course now that I've got that idea, I need to decide which pages to use. And there's an awful lot of faffing around, putting the pages in place and seeing how I want these two flaps to kind of look side by side. Eventually I decide to go with this page with the fish on. And so I'm going to do what I did when I did the front covers and when I did the inside of the other pages. I'm just going to put that in place, and the first thing I'm going to do is mark up the top there so I can get the overall height correct. And now I'm going to start looking at where those fish are going to line up on the flaps. But the first thing I'm going to do is just to cut a piece for that little spine there. And now what I don't want is to cut the fish's nose off. So I'm just sort of lining this up and now flipping that over, drawing around it so that I've got that piece there, so that I've got the whole of the fish on that piece. And then doing the same on the other side, I'm just holding that up against the light so I can see the shadow of the folder behind it and see where I want to line that up so that I get the image of the fish that I want on there, because there's plenty of extra on there. I can wiggle it around to make sure I get as much of the image that I want. And then again, just drawing around that, cutting it out so that it now fits on that file folder that we cut out. Now I just need to trim off the excess. So just again, just lining that up and making a mark where that spine is folded. So now all those pieces of paper fit the space that I've got. So I have distress inked the edge of everything. I'm going to stick that little spine down so I don't lose it. And now again, there's more playing around. I've got to fiddle around with this and see how this is going to go. So that's going to open like that. That's going to open like that, which means that I've got those kind of 3 more pages on the inside. And before I lose this piece here, that piece there, I am going to use that to create the central spine so that it all flows across from that flap as well. So usual thing, put it in place, mark it at the top and bottom, cut it, ink it, stick it. So that will all line up like that. And maybe I might use that as a belly band, not sure. And that will close like that. So I need to start thinking about sticking these things down and thinking about how it's all going to close. So I'm just making a note. I always make a note I write magnet where I think magnets should go, because otherwise I get carried away with cutting and sticking, and before I know it, I've stuck it all down and it's too late to put a magnet on. So I've decided to use this piece for the inside of the big flap. So I've just done what I usually do, which is hold it in place and flip it over, draw around it, and then cut around it. So I've got a piece that fits that flap shape perfectly. And I'm thinking about that belly band, still not sure, maybe a pocket down the bottom, still not sure. And then I pick up this piece and I think, yes, actually, I would like to create like a circular kind of rounded pocket down the bottom there. So this is just a random round thing that I had in my room. So I've just put it in place there and drawn around it so that I can get that curve that I had in my mind when I was thinking about this pocket. So just picking up anything that you've got that's the right size to create that nice curved edge. And then I'm going to use that straight kind of mark there on the design to finish off the top of the pocket. So it will sit there like that. So I have also distress inked that now as well. So that will go on the front, that will go on the back, and then we have a little kind of pocket there. Now before I stick all this down, I want to put some little thumb notches in there so that I can create some pockets. So I've just turned that the front cover paper over and marked the middle point in that top section, and now going in and re-inking it where I've cut it. Realised I'd written magnet on the wrong place. So this is why it's important to do that, because then as I'm playing around with it, I realise where it needs to go. And then just inking up the bit of folder now that shows through. And I want to put another pocket in the bottom section there. So I'm just finding the middle bit, putting the thumb notch on, re-inking it. And I want these two pockets to be separate. So I'm just drawing on the back where I'm going to add glue so that I can create those two separate pockets. So I'm going to glue around the 3 edges. And then I'm going to glue this central section here so that we've got 2 distinct pockets. I'm making sure I stick this on the right side of my piece of file folder. That's going to be on the front. Just giving that a little burnish, make sure any excess glue has been mopped up. And now I just want to attach that pocket to the inside. I'm not going to add any thumb notches and extra little tuck spots here because I've got that kind of pocket there. Anything that's going to go on this page is going to tuck behind that little pocket there. So I'm just going to glue on 2 sides once I can unblock my glue. So I'm just going to glue these 2 edges here so that it creates quite a nice large tuck spot. Now I don't want to attach this yet because I wrote on here magnet to remind me to put the magnet on before I stick it down. So now I need to figure out where the magnet's going to go and get that all lined up before I stick the cover paper on. So these little magnets, I'll put the link below. They're teeny tiny ones and they are really thin. So I'm just popping a little tiny bit of glue on. And then I'm gluing a little bit of washi tape over the top so that it just kind of softens the kind of sharper edge of that magnet and helps to hold it in place. And then I haven't glued it, but I've just positioned that piece of cover paper there. And I've put an extra little piece of paper over the top and then just dropped another magnet on so it can land the side it wants to land on. And I'm putting a teeny tiny little bit of double-sided tape on that magnet, making sure it's stuck down properly, and then peeling the backing tape off it so that the sticky side is showing. And then I just need to line up where this is going to go. Now, often I will have kind of stuck the flap down first before I do this to make sure everything's in the right place, but for some reason I decided to do it this way today. So you can see I'm just kind of dropping that into place, and because I put some double-sided tape on there, it has stuck to the other flap. So the 2 magnets are always going to line up when those 2 flaps are lined up. So the reason I put that extra piece of paper in between is to make it easier to pull them apart. Now I decided that that was the wrong place because I realised in doing that I put the magnet directly behind the pocket on the front of this page where the big fish is. And of course that's going to mean extra bulk. So that's going to mean that's going to get in the way of the magnet. So I did just move the magnets up to the top, and then I stuck down the cover paper on the inside of that flap. But I positioned the magnets in exactly the same way as I did then. And now I'm adding some of that double-sided tape onto that flap so that we can attach this page to the folio. So just making sure that's nice and burnished down before pulling the edge of that backing tape off. But I'm also going to add some high-tech glue to that as well because it gives me some wiggle room. If I just put that straight down, it's stuck in place and there's no room for manoeuvre. Whereas if I put that little bit of glue on, it means that I can wiggle it around a little bit if I need to get that in the right place. And of course, always making sure you've got enough place for it to move and the spine to open and close. So I did the same with the other piece, and I added an extra magnet down the bottom so that that second flap sits nicely as well. And I'm just lining up this fantastic piece of paper here to create this central page, because I've got an idea which I'm actually lost the footage of. I'm really sorry. So what's going to happen is I'm going to line the back of that page with a piece of cardboard, and then I can cut around the edges of those animals with my scalpel, just like I did Mr. Fox on the front cover, and create a whole series of little tuck spots. So I did exactly the same as I did on the front cover with Mr. Fox. I just used that craft card to line the back, then cut around the edges, and then stuck it down so that there was enough space for me to tuck things in. So there we go, end of episode 3. That's both of the main inside pages done. I do hope you enjoy if you're following along, and I will look forward to seeing you for episode 4 very soon.